1 billion lions versus top laners. I know I'm very late to this trend, but I just had to do it. These are normal lions versus top laners at a decent state in their life, meaning they aren't in some kind of prime state. They are as you would expect them in the lore currently, except for Mbessa, who's obviously dead. Aatrox wins 100% of the time. There is no universe where Aatrox loses to a mass of very small fleshy units. Aatrox and the other Darkin scale off of flesh and carnage. So if this were a bunch of like robotic lions, there was a chance he would lose because he could not scale off their blood. But because the Darkin are able to scale off of blood, including animal and creature blood, Aatrox would only get stronger as the fight went on, and he would absolutely dominate. And Mbessa, like I said, is dead, but we're going to consider her alive and in her prime invasion of Piltover state. But even then, obviously she's lion food. She came face to face with Warwick, a great beast, but these are 1 billion lions. Even if she could potentially beat one lion, which is highly unlikely, she just obviously loses. Same with Camille. He's extremely agile, but once one lion gets a hold of her, it's done. Cho'Gath is an interesting case because Riot could make it so that he is in a insect-sized state, or what is more likely is that he's already massive. We have very little lore on Cho'Gath, but I do believe that he is already of massive size, and a size that would allow him to eat lions in further scale, just like Aatrox. But I don't know what size he is right now. Darius, despite being a great commander, great fighter, is lion food. Dr. Mundo has no sort of scaling through carnage, and he would also just get ripped apart. Fiora is a 1v1 specialist, but this is 1 billion versus 1. Gangplank. Gangplank also loses, even on the water. These are coordinated lions. They know how to fight to a reasonable extent, and that reasonable extent extends to something called the lion boat formation, and that lion boat would allow them to attack Gangplank on the water. Garen is a knight that has armor that is built to counter magic. These are not magic lions. These are normal lions, and they would rip him apart. Gnar in any form gets demolished because it is just a swarm of lions. Gragas in one of his short stories won a 1v10 tavern brawl. Even then, this is 1 versus a billion. Gwen is an interesting case. I'm going to put her in the middle because she can become intangible, because she is part ghoul or affected by the ruination. Question is, when she starts killing lions, would those lions become ghoul lions? And would those ghoul lions be able to hurt Gwen? I don't know. But if the lions were able to hurt Gwen, they would turn her into a plushy chew toy. Alawi is also a toss-up. Alawi wields the Eye of God. It is the idol you see her wielding in game. That idol channels one of the most powerful creatures in all of Runeterra canon, Nagakaboros, the Sea Witch, the god of the ocean, and the god of life and motion. The thing is, while Alawi has been seen summoning tentacles that could destroy countless lions, Nagakaboros can decide, and has been seen on many occasions, abandoning Alawi to further force her to move her own way. What I'm trying to say is, Nagakaboros won't always protect Alawi, though God likes to test Alawi to see if she can move and survive on her own. It is entirely possible that the god abandons Alawi and lets her die to the lions. Additionally, a billion lions could wrestle away that idol, and then she's just a very strong woman that dies to the remaining 500 million lions. But if she has extreme godly favor, she could win. Aurelia unfortunately cannot dance fast enough to beat a billion lions. Jax is overpowered, Jax is old, Jax is possibly a sand troll, but even then, with all his weapon mastery, would fall. Jace could make a Hextech nuke or something, but that's just not viable. Modern Jace just isn't up to the task of beating a billion lions. We know that Kayle and her sister Morgana can fly into the air, and that Kayle can rain down celestial fire. So it's just a matter of, would she ever get tired of raining down fire? I don't think so. Kennen has ninja lightning powers, but the modern Arcane story made Yordles something confusing, meaning they took away a lot of the suspected power that they had by showing characters like Smeech dying and Heimerdinger dying, without giving an explanation that they respawn in Bandle City or something concrete of they are immortal, they just respawn somewhere else, or they cannot actually be killed because they're spirits. They made Heimerdinger a lot more grounded, so I'm not sure as to what the durability or magical output of Yordles are, but I do not think that Kennen could produce enough lightning or dodge fast enough to avoid 1 billion lions. Yordles, as I know them, they have special powers. Like, Kennen is a ninja Yordle, Kled is a carnage Yordle, and Rumble, who we'll get to, is like a mechanic Yordle. Their powers are associated with both whimsy and then an added trait. So Kled would be violence, whimsy, Rumble would be mechanic whimsy. You have to ask yourself, would the spiritual magic power Kled enough to murder a billion lions through his carnage enhanced whimsy? I hope that makes sense. I don't think it's enough. I don't even know if Yordles could die, but I'm going to put Kled here. K'Sante is a renowned beast hunter. The problem is this is a lot of lions. K'Sante is renowned for being a large beast hunter in a sort of one-on-one sense. He has been seen fighting multiple opponents at once, but this is a billion opponents at once, and I just don't think he has what it takes. Malphite is a mountain. I think he wins a lot of the time, but I do think a billion lions would be able to disable his eyes or his mouth or somehow wear him down so that he's no longer a mountain. He's just a pile of rocks, the size of his young son Chip. Wukong. Wukong is a student of Wuju. He asked me if Master Yi could take on a billion lions. That is a different question. I do think he could, but Wukong is simply a Vastaya that has not mastered nearly enough Wuju to get to the point of Master Yi, and I don't think he makes it. Mordekaiser is a spiritual being. Unlike Gwen, where the lions dying could hurt her, the things that die to Mordekaiser are confirmed to be spirits that would end up fueling him, and the lions would have no way of hurting him, and he's also made out of iron, so it would be hard for them to damage him in the first place. Also, he's one of the strongest characters in all of the canon. It's so easy for me to put him in the top rank. Nasus has voice lines that hint at him being able to scale off of death, but he is also an ascended and also has ascended forms, and ascended are able to transform and grow larger at will. I've seen it many different times in the canon. The form you see is not the only form of these ascended warriors. They can take on many other forms. I do believe that eventually the powers and wisdom and size of Nasus would be enough to overcome the lion horde. Olaf, I don't believe his prophecy is true. I believe that eventually he will die in some ironic way that means that he technically dies at peace and technically dies at an old age, but as far as I have to assume, the prophecy is canon, and he goes in the draw toss-up. I can't put him next to Nasus. Ornn is a spirit god of the Forge. Again, he can't really be hurt. He's a spirit god, but his avatars could lose to a billion lions, but his avatars, again, are fiery, mountain-sized, at times, rams. It would take many, many lions to take down an avatar, and then Ornn would just summon a new one, or Ornn would just summon a volcano that erupts, or Ornn would build something that is just anti-lion sword, or Ornn would strike his hammer down and open a fissure in the earth, and lions would pour into the molten core of the earth, millions at a time. Ornn and the spirit gods are just overpowered. This one's gonna hurt. Pantheon goes as low as could win maybe, but really, if I was being honest, I think he could go in lion food. The most enticing part of Pantheon is that he is part human. You see him launching into air and crashing down in the Call cinematic, and you see him leaping great distances in many of his short stories, and you also see him moving at very, very fast speeds between bandits and killing them in blinks of the eye. But unfortunately, a lot of his fights are followed by him tiring and him not being able to get back up. And this is a billion opponents. He is not the actual aspect of war. He is not a celestial being. He is a human gifted celestial power. Over time, he will tire, as he's been seen tiring before. His greatest power is inspiring others. And if you asked me, an army with Pantheon at the helm versus a billion lions, the army would win because Pantheon inspired them to win. But that's not what we're asking here. It's 1 versus 1 billion, and Pantheon would likely lose. Poppy falls into the same camp as Yordles. She's the honorable whimsy Yordle. I just don't see enough of Yordles. They can arguably be in the same tier of the other spirits like Ornn, but he is a spirit god. These are spirit creatures. I just think it's too much of a difference. Quinn and her bird become lion food. It's not even close. Renekton is kind of like his brother, and his powers are more carnage related, it seems. All his life, he's been a general for extreme carnage. We assume that at some level he scales off of carnage, then I believe he wins the majority of fights. Riven is a tough warrior, but not this time. Rumble is one of the special Yordles that I believe has a higher chance at winning because he is a technical, mechanical, whimsy Yordle. He could build some kind of Lion Killer 9000 and completely win. He could build a magical Yordle bomb that turns all the lions into ants or something. He could build a magical Yordle gun, flamethrower, that kills all the lions instantly. It's just so hard to scale and compare Yordles in fights. Set is a cage fighter. He doesn't have the skills to beat a billion lions. Shen can teleport, Shen can go in the spirit realm, Shen can do a whole lot of things, but it's 1 billion lions, and in the end he's just a human with a very powerful weapon. Singed, you have to ask yourself, could Singed be able to create very chemical gases? Could Singed put gases around himself that he's immune to and watch just a 1 billion lions come at him and die in his gas? Could Singed somehow poison all the lions at once? Could Singed build a billion Warwicks to counter after the billion lions? Who knows? Scion becomes lion food. He is a great warrior. He's also undead. But the thing is, he would be undead in a billion lions' bodies. He would be separated and eaten by at least 10,000 lions with no hope of ever becoming whole again. It's just over for Scion. Tahm Kench is a spirit, a demon spirit. I have no idea how powerful they are. There's never been any sort of conflict between a normal human being or a normal mortal thing that's comparable to a lion versus a demon. I have no idea how to scale him versus lions, so I'm just going to put him here. I have no idea how they could even hurt him. And of course, I do believe that he could eventually eat a billion lions. He's likely a demon of gluttony. Trundle, even with his True Ice Club, eventually loses. He can't swing that fast. He'll just be surrounded and ripped apart. Tryndamere, I do believe there's a universe he loses, but he's also gifted with the powers of Aatrox at a much smaller scale. But where Aatrox grows in size and scales off of carnage, it seems Tryndamere is unkillable like Aatrox, but scales off of bloodlust and violence in the length of the fight. The longer the fight goes, the more powerful he is, the stronger he is. But at what point does he get overwhelmed? There just hasn't been an example of him being overwhelmed. There has been examples of him tiring though. Braum has been known to tire Tryndamere by just putting his shield up and allowing Tryndamere to whack at it. But that's a bit different because that ends the carnage. A billion lions would never end and there would always be carnage. There would be lion bodies everywhere. So I do believe he wins. Urgot is currently on fraud watch because he lost back-to-back to Caitlyn Vi, and he lost immediately after being released from prison. It's kind of embarrassing. Vayne loses. Volibear, like his brother, has insane spiritual magic powers and countless avatars that just could not just be permanently killed. The avatars may die, the earth sign may die, but Volibear the spirit exists as long as belief in Volibear exists. He's unkillable and has extreme lightning powers. It's just not fair. Yone is hard. Yone is combined with an Azakana. The Azakana are spiritual creatures that will eventually become demons, right? Assuming they feed enough to become demons like Tahm Kench. But I don't think an Azakana, a lesser demon combined with a human, is enough to consider them on the same level of Tahm Kench, or even as powerful enough to kill a billion lions. So I'm going to put him in lion food. Yorick can command an army of ghouls, and would the lion corpses become more ghouls to contribute to his army? I'm going to say yes and put him in draw and toss up. Zahen is a Darkin who scales alongside Carnage and can manipulate flesh, so he goes in the top tier also for the same reasons as Aatrox. This list is a bit messy because maybe I don't know the scale of a billion lions, or maybe I don't know the true powers of these champions in the context of a billion lions. I know the lore well, but it's so hard to attribute a lot of their powers in the face of a horde of lions, especially the Yordles. The Yordles will always be hard to consider in fights and lore because they're just such a mystery. It's not going to get easier when I get to creatures like Kindred or the other just insanely powerful beings, but this is the list. I hope you enjoyed it. There are definitely going to be a lot of disagreements, but from my lore knowledge, this is where the champions go.